Welcome to the podcast, episode 20. I'm ThE, the host of this. The Journey of Growth podcast, episode 29. I'm ThE, the host of this event. And um, we created this podcast because we want to hope to inspire others to hopefully adopt and maintain the concept, which could be relatable, establishes awareness, and inspires listeners to adopt and maintain such behavior. The definition of growth is the process of developing new skills, attitudes, actions, or reactions that can have a beneficial impact on your life and increases your overall well being. If you are interested and open to being a guest on the show, you're invited to do so by reaching out to me on Instagram, Kite Raps, and hopefully, if you choose to engage in such an experience, it can result in a enhancement of uh, your own identity and awareness of the world by venturing into an unknown experience. So today's featured guest is a friend of mine and also a former classmate. I thank her for participating in this unknown experience. Her name is Miss Martini. Hello, Martini. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Kite? Thank you for having me.
Uh, I'm doing well. I appreciate you asking. What can you tell me about yourself?
Um, I am a Richmond native, a lover of the arts, a mother, a business owner, and a overall humanitarian. I love to be of service to other people.
That's great. I'm glad you have a sense of what you enjoy and uh, to help, which hopefully be a system to them. And next question is, what would be your perspective on the concept of growth?
Um, I guess just like evolution, right? So when you're growing, you're constantly learning, you're pouring into yourself, and not only just from your personal experiences, but from experiences gathered from those around you. So growth for me is just constant evolution, not being afraid to change, not being afraid of challenges, and just like I guess wandering into the unknown, even when you're scared.
Hmm. Yes, I agree with you, and it's interesting how an individual could be afraid of being challenged. I know, like in my life, I think what held me back in certain beneficial opportunities was, I think, not seeing the challenge in itself, but more of me standing in my own way by being distracted from sensing the opportunity in this through, doubting myself. So that your perspective was interesting. Um, and how are you currently growing?
Um, for one, I mean, this is definitely out of my comfort zone. Naturally, while I do like to assist others, I prefer to play the background, not out of shyness or anything like that. I'm just a doer. So I'm typically somewhere just getting the work done and not really worried about being seen or being the focus or the topic of the conversation. Um, I just like to see results. I'm result driven. So being in front of the camera versus being behind the camera, just getting things done, this is a challenge for me, but it's exciting. Um, and so I'm grateful for it. But to lean back into what you said earlier about not being able to recognize opportunities out of fear or out of self-doubt, most people have those challenges in one area or another. But it takes, when you're able to recognize it in that moment, then you'll still be able to like kind of like capitalize on that opportunity. Even if it's not to its full potential, you'll still be able to say, okay, I can see how this can be beneficial, although I don't fully believe that I'm capable of doing it. I'm going to at least try.
Yes. And the idea of just simply putting forth an initiative is something that seems very subtle, but could lead to amazing results, as you said. And what I'm aware of is that you are a business owner, which,
Hmm.
when I think of being an entrepreneur, seems to require someone taking an initiative to establish their company.
Yeah.
So, tell me about your business.
Well, I think that I've always been like more entrepreneurial minded. So I've always wanted to work for myself in some capacity, even if I was working for, a traditional job. I've always desired to work for myself in some capacity. I was a cosmetologist for some time. I've dabbled in different artistic ventures. But so taking the first step into like entrepreneurship or being a business owner, it was second nature. It wasn't something that I even thought about or questioned. So I don't I mean, just I don't know. I guess I would say I just did it because it was so natural for me. Like it was just an innate part of my spirit to want to do that. So there was no fear around taking that initial step or apprehension. I think I find myself more apprehensive to go and apply for a traditional job
Mm.
than I would and being focused on like working for myself. I always feel like I would bet on myself every time. But when you bring someone else into the mix, then for me it gets a little shaky because it's like, can I really rely on this or not? So
There was a little bit of a delay. Can you repeat that last part?
oh no, so I was saying that for me it's easier taking the step to be an entrepreneur versus going
Mm-hmm.
out working a traditional job because I know that I will bet
Mm-hmm.
on myself every time. But when I bring someone else into the fold, then it makes me a little bit more um not fearful, but it makes the situation a little bit more questionable because I don't know your work ethic. I don't know your character. So I can't fully bet on you as I would myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate to that. And someone who has, I won't say it's an established financial business, but as someone who's created a podcast, um, I have concerns or see the potential concerns of incorporating someone with me to be a support to me, because just based on previous experiences where I had collaborations or partnerships with other individuals who seem to lack enthusiasm or put forth an effort to, I guess, match the energy that I was investing in other ventures, pretty much led me to have the perspective of, okay, maybe I should just do it for myself. Maybe I shouldn't, you know, seek other people when I know that I'm capable of doing it on my own. Though I am open to eventually, hopefully, collaborating with someone who is a reflection of myself. But at this point, I to encounter someone like that. I can relate to what you're saying. And I'm fortunately, I don't feel overwhelmed in my participation in creating the podcast and doing things that need to be done in order for it to be sustainable. Um, but what I wanted to ask you is, you said earlier, you feel more. I'm trying to think of a word. You said in contrast to working for someone else, the idea of doing it for yourself is seems to be more practical for you. Um, and I think you also maybe used the word could in terms of working with someone, working for someone else, could give you some sense of like a fear. Why would that be?
Um, and that's a good question. It's because then it puts somebody else in the kind of like in the driver's seat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of because I've I've come to you, I've applied for your job, I'm here working your job, but at any given moment, you can decide you don't want me there for whatever reason, whether if it's it could be something that I've done, it could be maybe finances aren't flowing properly for the business, um, restructuring, it could be anything. So it
Mm-hmm.
just, it always puts me in the mindset to say, yes, I'm going to go out and work a traditional job for the time that I'm going to work. Hopefully, sometime in the foreseeable future, I will be able to just be an entrepreneur, but I'm always going to have something that I'm building on the side for myself.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, when it comes to businesses, it seems like there's two types, and there's products or services. Based on what I've seen on your Instagram page, you seem to offer products. Oh, what can you tell me about the products that you have to offer?
So I think I fall into this weird space of not necessarily offering a straightforward service business, but through my products, I feel I offer a service. Because we fall into this middle ground of I'm giving you a product, but the product is to hopefully encourage you. Um, into an act of service for yourself, right? So kind of like self-care, wellness type of thing is kind of where I'm going. So my business is Moamo Olfactory Oasis, and we are a home fragrance and a bath and body care line, and we offer candles, body butters, perfume oils, bath care products, bath milks, bath salts, and it's just to kind of help people grab back moments of themselves when life is just chaotic. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really what it's about. Just kind of getting people to return back to themselves and to honor themselves no
Mm-hmm.
matter what season they're in.
Okay. No, I hope that people will consider purchasing your products, and that they will be a resource to them should they choose to invest in your business. For those who are unaware of products, how how would that be of benefit to them should they choose to buy these products that you mentioned?
I would say so. Say for instance, like how can I say it? Like, okay, so this is one of my candles, right? It's white on white, so it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
see. But this is one of my candles. A candle is a candle. Typically, no matter where you buy it from, it's going to be a candle. And so, what you're buying is what you're buying into is the experience behind or the story. Um, and so ultimately, I'm selling you a story. I'm selling you a feeling of relaxation because yes, you're gonna buy the candle, but what it really is the intention behind what you're purchasing that levels out your self-care. The self-care doesn't come from the product, it comes from the intention behind it. why would you buy a Moamo candle or any other candle? You're buying it because you want to treat yourself to a moment of feeling good, whether you like to light your candles in the morning when you're getting ready for work, whether you like to light a candle before you get in the bath, or as you're having a glass of wine or a cup of tea. So you're buying a product, but you're really buying into yourself to treat yourself to something that you
Mm-hmm.
deserve. Um, and so yeah, so that's really what I'm selling, essentially. The product is just the catalyst, but what I'm really trying to sell is the notion of you deserve to treat yourself to wonderful experiences.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting, and I appreciate the you expression the intent for presenting the product to the customer, and I think sometimes people can even myself have fallen into the temptation of not consuming items that could be a benefit to me. Like even when you said like even though it's the store person, I think like when I choose to buy things, I try to buy them with the intent that I'm going to utilize them versus just have them sitting up in the cabinet, so I'm not appreciating the product. So for me, I think I would purchase it because one, it is something that I could utilize. Is I would imagine that the product, the candle, is a fragrant and
Yes.
has fragrance in it, and sometimes it helps to like be stimulated by certain
Mhm.
scents and fragrances. I know, like sometimes too, when there's been times where I've been afraid to use my money because I think like when I was younger, like I had this scarcity mentality. Like I just need to like hoard all my money, try to collect all my money,
Mhm.
and for whatever reason, who knows what may happen. So I need to have this always just hoarded up, sort of like Scrooge McDuck in he had that big old um, he called it the money bin, and he had that big
Mhm.
old pile of coins and stuff like that. But what good is money if you're not going to use it in our economy at some point? And so, like, I relate to what you're saying in terms of um, inspiring people to not be afraid to use their resources which they worked for and earned if it's going to be a benefit to them at some point in their life.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure.
So that yeah.
Yeah, no, the notion, I mean, yes, we want to save and we don't want to recklessly spend our money, right? Because we've worked hard for it. But merely saving money isn't making money. So, if you're going to save it, at least invest it and let it work for you. But I think that some, and again, self-care or taking care of yourself or having moments of relaxation doesn't always surround going out and spending money. It could be as something as simple as just taking some downtime for yourself and not focusing on anyone else. But to lean back into what you said about like scents and fragrances, yeah, sometimes like citrus fragrances, those are like mood boosters. They're invigorating, revitalizing. You have things fragrances that are calming. You have your lavender and like rosemary and those type of fragrances that are kind of and chamomile that will kind of help you unwind at the end of a hectic day. So it's just all about the experiences and how you frame it and how you want to go about getting to your end goal, which is to ultimately feel better about yourself or um to treat yourself to something nice. So and that's different
Mm-hmm.
for everyone. Me being a business owner or having a home fragrance business, um I still can't come to the conclusion I'm just going to blow smoke up someone's behind just to say, okay, so you'll buy my product. No, yes, I want you to buy my product because I have a product for sale. But what I want more so is for you to feel better about yourself. And I would like to be able to assist you in feeling better about yourself by leading you through the experience, through fragrance and through our art of storytelling, that I feel is central to Mowamo's brand. Right. So,
Speaking of Mawamu, which is a unique name and a new name, unfamiliar name to myself, what can you tell me about the word Mawamu?
um, well, from my research, I haven't found a true definition of Moamo, but for my brand, Moamo is a combination of my daughters. It's their initials put together, to form the brand name. So, for me, it's about love and loyalty and legacy, and a homage to motherhood and growth and development and just trying to continuously evolve as a person. So,
Yeah, I like the name. It definitely goes off the tongue.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was
How
a
many
no-brainer.
children do you have?
So I have one daughter here. I have a 15-year-old, and then have another daughter. She passed away at birth. So it's a combination of their
Okay.
names. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said it was a total of two
Two.
kids?
Two. Yeah.
Two kids. Okay,
hmm
cool. Got it. Okay. Um, and so so you are a mother.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on motherhood?
Um, you know, honestly, I'm just winging it. Like I'm just trying to figure it out. It's different for everybody. Mm. It's d- Parenthood is different for everybody, but definitely motherhood is different for every mother. The Yeah, so I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But I'm just winging it. I'm just figuring it out moment by moment. And my daughter is gracious enough to be patient with me as I try to navigate being the best mother possible.
How is your relationship with your daughter?
We're real tight. We have a very good relationship. I'm blessed. I am blessed that I don't know, she's a gem. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased and she's mine. But she really is an awesome kid. And we really have a good relationship.
That's amazing. I'm glad that you have quality relationship with your daughter, which takes initiative. Like when I was younger, my relationship with my mother wasn't as, I guess, quality as some others, but my mother had me at a young age, and
Yeah.
I think there was a certain point in her life where when she was younger, she didn't seem to show interest in being a mother. I think she wanted to still like live a life of uh, trying to like find herself and while having kids on well, that didn't seem like that was like something already was. And so to hear you have a strong relationship is inspirational, and it also demonstrates it is possible to have a healthy relationship with your child, because I know some people, other parents, struggle with that. Um, what from your perspective, what does it require in order to have a healthy relationship with a child from your perspective?
Um, I think it requires a great level of self-awareness, um, emotional intelligence. Um, it requires fluidity. Like you have to be you have to want to learn, you have to want to be better, you have to want to grow. Um, it requires you to take stock of your strengths and your weaknesses, and be open to having conversations with your children, to be able to say, I don't know it all. And everybody will frame this different, but I'm straightforward with my daughter. I don't know it all. I'm trying to figure it out. If there's ever any way that I am parenting you that you feel does not serve you, respectfully, let's have a conversation, because I want to ensure that I'm sending you out into the world with the best version of the teachings that I have to offer, so that you are your best self and that you are confident when you hit the ground running in the world. So it requires just open conversation and dialogue, and not always wanting to feel like you have to be the person in control because you're the parent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that part right there is significant, and I've mentioned this in other podcasts as well. And the phrase "you feeling like you have to be in control because you're the parent" seems to stem from certain parenting style, which is an authoritarian parenting style, where an authoritarian parent will see the child as a subordinate rather than a child, or like in the military, and there is no consideration or openness to feedback or expressions that are being presented to the parent by the child, because there's an expectation that the child should just do as I say. And so I'm
Right.
glad that you have a willingness and an openness to communicate with your child, because I think that will help her to um, develop into a autonomous individual once she's like no longer, under your wing. And I think alternatively, if you didn't adopt that type of behavior, what that could lead to is her seeking out being dependent on someone else who may not have her best interests when she's out in the world on her own. So yeah, I appreciate you having that type of mentality.
I mean, thank you. Because, but I
Um,
mean, I grew up under authoritarian parenting style, right? It was, you gonna do what I say because I say, don't ask why. Um, and but I didn't have that type of personality. Like, I always had questions. I always wanted, like, well, why
mhm,
not? Can you explain it to me? Not to be disrespectful, but just I just had questions. And I knew what that felt like, to be
mhm,
shut down in a way. To say your thoughts don't matter, or what you're thinking isn't important to me right now. And that was never something that I wanted to be as a parent. Not to say that it was right or wrong. It just wasn't the way that I wanted to parent. I wanted there to be open
mhm,
dialogue um within my household. Let's have a conversation. Let's try to talk it out. Let's try to not wait till we get to a fever pitch and then we don't know how to communicate because we're communicating from the wrong space.
mhm,
If we can avoid the conflict, let's talk about it before it reaches that point, and see how we can both compromise to resolve and make it better.
mhm. Yeah, I agree, and I also emulate behavior as well. But
You
I
have
do I
children?
did I do not.
No? Okay.
Yeah, but I'm open to it.
Okay.
If it happens, it happens. I'm not going to um, expect such a circumstance, and I'm not gonna be mad or afraid that if I don't have kids, like that will define me as a
It
certain type of
doesn't.
person. Like I don't want to be in a situation where I have kids with someone, and ultimately, it doesn't work out, and my kids probably, are caught in the middle between a bad situation. And it's like,
Right.
hopefully, if I do have kids, it'll be with someone that, we have a strong relationship and there's longevity. And, you know, I think, a good path right now, but I'm not going to rush into anything for sure. And I just based it on um, relative situations that,
Got
I've
it. Got it.
experienced. So
Got it.
can't.
No, I get it. I get it. That's definitely an
Yeah.
amazing approach. A very thought out, amazing approach because children definitely deserve the best of us. And it's sometimes we get caught up with the wrong people and we have babies and it makes it life a little bit harder for them.
Hmm.
So,
You mentioned that you enjoy the creative arts. Is that something that you enjoy engaging and participating in terms of the activity, or is it a combination of that plus being a spectator of?
both. So, I love both. I grew up as a dancer, a lover of music. Um, I loved fashion, so I dibbled and dabbled and kind of like wanting to do fashion and clothing design. Um, I love decorating. I just love anything creative and artistic. I love watching like stage plays and um oh my, dance performances. Like those are some of the best things that I love to do. I love just perusing museums and art galleries just for the fun of it. So I just love being surrounded and immersed in in creativeness. I think it shows the
Mm-hmm.
spirit of the world and how we're all different but similar because we're pulling from all these different places, but it can also resonate, even though I may interpret your art totally different than what you presented it to be, but it can bring me joy still in my own way. So,
In terms of in terms of creations regarding arts, what are some creations that you've made?
I mean, I've done clothing. I've draw here and there, not so much anymore. I used to dibble and dabble in poetry. So now with Mawamo, I get to, create my candles and all of the other products that I offer. I do all of that from scratch by myself. And I think my favorite part of it is storytelling. I love storytelling. So I love writing stories and coming up with journeys and stuff through our scents and fragrances to kind of take you on a little escape. So I think though right now that's my favorite. It's just the art of storytelling right now.
Okay. And what would be if you can share like what is I think like there's different interpretations of that word story.
Of
So
sort.
how would you yeah, like what is the story that you've created?
So let's say we're talking about the business, so I'll keep it there. So for Moamo, um, I've created this, yeah, a story. So we have archetypes, which for our brand, we have human archetypes, which are our muses. And then we have scentscapes that they traverse through, right? So Moamo is inspired by the duality of the desert and like lush rainforests. And it's the celebration of both, the joy and the pain of both. You can find in both. And so what the brand's muses do, they move through the scentscapes on these journeys back to themselves.
Mm.
And so it kind of you'll start off with our what I call, I guess, our baby muse, although she's not a baby, but it's our ingenue. She's young, she's vibrant, she's inquisitive, she's still trying to figure out life. So as she travels through the cityscapes, her experience will be much different than, say, um our oracle or our sage or the enigma. They all have their own different personalities and the way that they would traverse through the scentscapes to get back to themselves, but ultimately they're the same. um they're the same embodiment of one person. So I would embody all of the muses just at different stages of my life or different experiences. So I think right now that's my favorite story, is being able to show everyone that you can find yourself in whichever season, and like let me help you imagine that.
That is fascinating. The way you describe the stories in context to your product, which has different fragrances. I'm not familiar with the term muse. What is a muse?
So a muse is someone, she's usually it's usually a woman, but there are male muses as well, but they're usually the creative spark or inspiration behind an artist's work, right? So you could look at, like, when you see either designers, or they may have someone that they design when they're designing clothing or fragrances for in mind when they're doing a particular collection. So like if you look at Naomi Campbell, like there were clothing brands that used her as the catalyst for what they wanted to create. She was their inspiration, she was their muse. They leaned on her
Mm.
for what they wanted to present. And so that's typically what a
Mm-hmm.
muse is. It's just the spark, it's just the inspiration that drives the particular artist, whichever their medium may be.
Okay. And then in terms of the music that you've created,
Mhm.
um, what was the inspiration for your muses?
Um, the inspiration for I mean, I guess I was my first muse. Like I was inspired it because
Mm.
Moama was inspired by my journey initially of trying to find my way back to myself after motherhood. Um and not want to only feel like I was this just this one-dimensional person. Like we're all multifaceted. And so that for a long time I was operating in this silo of just being a mother. Like that was it. And I had lost myself. And I didn't understand what I wanted anymore outside of being my daughter's mom. So it was
Mm.
really I was really my first spark of inspiration, to be honest. And in that self-discovery, it was saying, no, I don't only have to be like stuffy and sophisticated and professional all the time. Like I'm fun. I like to dance. I like to draw. I like to be free spirited. So I'm childish sometimes. But through my life experiences, I also come with a great deal of wisdom. So it was to be able to celebrate myself essentially, but then in conversation and community, recognizing those same things in other people, that they were also struggling with, knowing that you don't have to be one thing. You can be like calm and chaotic, and that is totally okay.
Mm. Calm and chaotic. That's
You can
interesting.
you can do both. You can be both because I am multiple times a day. So
How many stories have you created so far?
so so far so we have 8 fragrances, which I call our scentscapes. And I we have 6 muses in total, but so far I've only introduced 3. So yeah, so the other 3 are coming up the pipeline. I'm building out their fragrances and stuff like that. So yeah, so to all in all, we'll have what 15, maybe 15, 16 in total is what it will be at some point. So yeah, each muse has her own fragrance, and then there's the scentscapes that they kind of travel to as they experience life.
That is so amazing, Martini. Like
Thank you.
the 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 addition of a story to a product, which could be relatable to the consumer, um, is very like thought provoking. And I haven't heard such a like not only a marketing strategy, but a yeah, an idea like that before. And it does seem like, for me, as you're describing it to me, um, like I'm interested in reading up on these stories that are, a part of the products in itself. And I'm glad that you uh, are, initiating that to nurture your brand. Are you enjoying the process?
It is so much fun. It's a lot of fun. I don't, it's pushing my mind in ways, that I hadn't revisited in a long time. So it's almost bringing me back to like that childlike wonder and giving me a different lens to view the world. Um, and so, I don't know, it's exciting, it's liberating. Yeah, it's an amazing experience. I really don't, that's crazy because I really don't have the words to describe it eloquently outside of it's just a ball of fun. I think that's my favorite part. This is just my favorite part. And I love being able to share the way that my mind works with the world. So I think it's a blast.
How open would you be to being a novelist and writing these stories as an additional activity venture?
It's something that I've thought about and brainstormed about. So it's just kind of getting everything to pull together and kind of doing the research to see how would that, come to fruition. But I'm not opposed to it. I definitely think that it's something that should, be out there for the masses, and not solely attached to the purchase of the candles or whatever. But so yeah, I think that would be an exciting venture.
Yeah, I hope if that's something that you desire, I hope you will have an opportunity to do so. If it helps you to have a sense of fulfillment and enhancement of your personal growth. For those who are listening, who are curious to know about the muses in the story, would you be able to share uh, some of the story and the name of a particular muse?
So let's, I guess, So I think my personal identifying muse, it will be the easiest for me, would be, so we have a fragrance, it's called Bougie Bohemian. And and she is free spirited and just kind of like wild at heart. And she travels through life or our senscapes, just with rebellion and with fearlessness, um just kind of by the seat of her pants, just taking life for what it is, and trying to figure it out. And she doesn't care what anybody thinks, because she wants to experience life on her own terms. um and so it kind of depends on how, on I guess, what her locale is as to what her story would be. So all of the muses, they travel with little spirit companions. We have a jaguar and an elephant. Jaguar for, and so it gets deep. But if anybody really wants to follow up and follow the muses and their story, if you visit my website www.moamo.com, we have a blog there that we're starting. It's called The Muses Edit. And we're on volume one, which is an introduction to the muses, and volume two will be dropping May 3rd. And so you can follow along as the stories start to build out, muse by muse, scent by scent, and experience by experience.
Wow, that's fascinating. Um, the word scentscape is new to
Mhm.
me and maybe new to other people. Um, how would you describe a scentscape?
So a scentscape is kind of, how you have a landscape, right? So you have geography and all these things that create your landscape and the way that it's laid out. So your scentscape is going to be, um just that. It's a scent terrain, or a scent destination, a scent escape. It can be described in many different ways, but it's really just the poignant point in time, um of where you want to get to. So we have, like, let's see. Right here, I have Casa Soul. So Casa Soul, it would be reminiscent of like a Mediterranean villa on a sunny day, with fresh washed linens, cotton and peach and musk and all these things. It's light, it's crisp, it takes you away on a vacation. You could think Mykonos or the Maldives, but it's this fresh, airy, feeling. So the scent will transport you to a landscape. If and so Scentscapes, yeah.
Yeah, like that. I like how you described that. It gave me a perspective of what a scentscape is, and when I think of scents, they are I think sometimes we can overlook the value of a smell or fragrance. Sometimes when I smell something, it sort of transports me back to a previous experience where I had
Yes.
like a really fun activity that I was participating in with some friends or family. Or it could also transport me to a place I've never been before. But like you said, I could have read up on the Mediterranean in a novel or a book, and they describe these various plants that grow there, such as like a lavender or a
Yes.
rosemary. And so to smell that fragrance from a candle that you have to offer could be not only stimulating, but it could also inspire someone to want to
Yep.
step out of their comfort zone and venture to a place they've never been before. And the plant, so you describe this sensescape. It actually touches you too, like
But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's the goal. Like
yeah.
our sense of smell or our olfactory sense, that's our oldest scent. We had that before we even entered the world. So that's where we house most of our memories. Is through is through scent and through fragrance. So it's very transformative. You know, like you said, it could spark nostalgia or inspiration. And I think I mean, that's the goal, right? I want you to trap. I want you to feel good either way, whether you're revisiting a memory or you desire to create new ones. The goal is to get you
Hmm.
where you want to be.
Yes, yes, I like that. Cool. So I feel like we're growing in this experience as I am
Think so?
learning more about scentscapes and fragrances. Yeah. So we're going to transition to the next section of the podcast, which is the multiple
Okay.
intelligence theory.
Okay.
And for those who are new to the podcast or unfamiliar with this theory, there are two popular theories when it comes to intellect. One is more popular than the next. The more popular theory suggests that we as individuals have three forms of intellect, which would be considered logical, mathematical, linguistic, or the writing skills, and then scientific or naturalistic. And as a result of this theory being more popular and adopted by most people, um, we tend to be tested on these intellects when we are children, specifically in high school, such as in the SAT exam. And depending on how well you perform in this testing, will determine if you will be eligible to transition to college. However, there is an alternative theory which is called the nine possible intelligence theory. Suggests that in addition to the three that I've mentioned, we also have we as individuals. You know, give me 1 second. I'm gonna do something. Okay, cool. All right. So there's six additional intellects that we have, which are musical, existential, which is like spiritual, interpersonal, also known as people smart, bodily kinesthetic, uh, uh, okay, body smart, physical skills, um, intrapersonal, self smart, spatial intelligence, that is more like the ability to navigate the world outside of ourselves, and utilize physical objects that aren't ourself. Spatial intelligence or spatial intelligence. And my intention for introducing this multiple intelligence theory in the podcast is so that people can hopefully become aware of it, because it's possible that people who have high degrees of, say, mathematical writing or scientific intellects may have a perception of themselves as not being smart. However, if you are become aware that there are additional intellects that may exist in you, this can help to boost self-confidence and motivate you to want you to grow yourself even more, because growth to me seems like it's a never-ending story or a never-ending journey. Um, and when it comes to intellect in general, it seems that they can also be enhanced with practice and repetition, similar to someone who practices playing basketball. It's supposedly the more you, let's say, shoot the ball and try to get it in the hoop, um, the more your skill increase so that you can shoot more efficiently versus not trying at all. So what I want to ask you, Martini, is intellects of the multiple intelligence theory, which one or more do you sense you have high degrees in? And how would you suggest to others, based on your experience, um, to enhance these intellects for themselves?
Um, I pulled it up on the side so I can kind of take a look at it on a larger screen. So I think for myself, spatial would be something that I think that I would rank pretty high in that. And then also as a former athlete and dancer, bodily and kinesthetics, that is something that I would probably lead heavily with. Uh, Interpersonal, I mean, and I think I don't know. Those two would probably be my highest forms of intellect. And then coming in with interpersonal and linguistic. And we all have degrees of intelligence in all areas, but those would probably rank the highest for me.
Okay. And so what I want to focus in on is, let's see, you said bodily kinesthetic and you said spatial. So, uh, of previous episodes, I've heard many refer to the bodily kinesthetic, but I think
Mhm.
you may be the first person who mentioned that they, since they have a high degree of spatial intelligence,
Mhm.
how how were you able to enhance your spatial intellect?
Um, I don't. I I think for I don't know, spatial for me, I believe is just it came naturally. So and because it came naturally, then I honed it over time. So I look at the world from a
Mm-hmm.
very almost like a Lego block perspective, right? What pieces can go here, what pieces can go there
Mm-hmm.
to form to make it what I want it to be. So I'm always creatively looking at situations or the world to try to make it fit whatever it is that I want it to be. And the best way I would say to, I guess, either begin to grow that or to master it is to put it into action. Start looking at things
Mm-hmm.
differently. Start looking at things a little bit more creatively. And and I think in repetition and in practice, then any of them can be mastered. But draw a little. Try to write a story. Try maybe reading some stories and expanding your imagination. um, and I mean, that would be my best guess, being that I feel like that came as just a natural part of my spirit.
Mm-hmm. When it comes from my perspective, when it comes to enhancement of intellect, it seems to require engagement.
Hmm.
You have to engage with um, an experience. Like so specifically, like you said, with the spatial intellect. When I think of spatial intellect or space, for example, like interior design. More so, no. I'll say you say that you've crafted clothing. Like you
Hmm.
had to initiate, I would imagine, with a thread and a needle, fabrics, and then there's sewing involved. This is for me an engagement. You're engaging with the relationship with these resources. And so when it comes to from your perspective, when it comes to crafting, let's say a article of clothing, what what is your intention, or like how would you describe that process?
Um, First, it's to understand what purpose do you want? What purpose would you like it to serve? Like, why do you want to create
Hmm.
such a thing? And then once you decide, okay, say I want to make I want a skirt because I just want a skirt. Well then, okay, you want to
Hmm.
wear a skirt. What do you need to make the skirt? How do you want the skirt to feel? How do you want it to frame your body? It's it's just thought processes, and being able to create anything, you have to have a certain level of imagination and creative cognitivity. So
Hmm.
and that's really all that it is. You have the idea, you rationalize all the key points, why, what, where am I going to wear it? Does it need to be a thin material? Does it need to be lined? All of those things come into play. Is so it's not as hard as I think as we make it to be to learn how to enhance ourselves. It all starts with the initial thought and then taking action on that thought. And by taking action on a single thought, you can build anything, any level of intelligence
Hmm.
if you're invested enough to do so. And so I'm not the best at describing that because I don't know. I maybe, let's see, I'm gonna take something that I'm not good at and then I can describe to you how I would probably go about it. Um, Music, like musical. I'm not great at I like to listen to music, but I don't know. I'm not musical. I don't have musicality. Um, so if I wanted to build that skill, that means what form of music am I most interested in? Because we have to start at one place first. Where am I most interested? What are the tools that I need to build this skill? Do I need a mentor? Can I do this by myself? Let me start listening to the greats who've done this thing. What was their formula? How can I either mimic it for myself until I can make it better? So it's just all about initiating and having an open mind and being willing to put the work in to develop yourself better in anything that you do. It's about gumption.
Hmm.
Like you have to have the willingness and the tenacity to want to overcome and improve in areas that you're lacking, for lack of a better word.
I've I haven't made like clothing before. So this is something that is foreign to me. But though I do make music. Like I write lyrics. I've also produced some instrumentals, and I would say what inspired me to want to engage in that particular experience, which resulted in me enhancing that intellect, was a relatable experience. So if I heard, for example, I think what inspired me to write lyrics was Tupac. I mean, his lyrics was relatable to me, and also was uh, emotional. It was emotionally stimulating to me. It was exciting to hear his passion, the tone of his voice, and his him expressing his experiences. I was like, wow, if he could do it, I want to see if I can also express myself in that way. And I think after I finished, let's say, writing a song, I discovered more of myself because one, I discovered that I can do it because it's now been done, and also to read it once it's also completed was also very fulfilling to me, and I think it helped me to want to learn more about myself after that. It's like, well, if I can do this, and I can see my thoughts on paper, what more is there about me that I've yet to uncover or um, and what I want to ask you about, like making a clothing product. Once the product project was complete, what did you learn after the completion of that uh, process?
Um, I mean, really, it was just that I can do whatever I have set my mind to do. Um,
Mm,
honestly, I mean, and it's not as difficult. The most difficult part is getting started. I think that would be my like overarching lesson that I've learned when tackling anything new, is that the hardest part is getting
mm,
started. And once you get started, yeah, there'll be hiccups, but everything will work itself out if you keep at it. So yeah, it's just after it's I can do anything. Like I can do anything, but that didn't start there. I think that's just my personality. Like I'm not afraid to take risks or take a chance to try to figure something out. Um
mm.
that's just who I am innately. Like, okay, I don't understand music, but I'm pretty sure if I try, I can figure it out. I'm pretty sure if I sat down and gave myself enough time, I could start to understand in a way that makes sense. So just not, you can do anything. You can do anything. It just starts with step one.
For me, when I write a song or like engage in some form of exercise, once the experience is completed, there sometimes is a moment of reflection and considering, like, is refinement for the next project necessary, meaning that, like, oh, could I write, or is there any tweaks or things that I could do differently the next time? um, ha- do you experience that when it comes to like making a product or completing a project?
Um, yes. Um, yeah, I think I don't know if that comes at the end or if it's like at the forefront in the beginning for me. Because everything
Mm-hmm.
is a work in progress. So there's nothing that's
Mm-hmm.
finite, right? Just because you start a project and you finish a project, tweaks can always be made. We can always find alternate ways to do it to create. Um, so those things don't really come just at the end for for me. It's my mind, I enter everything just open to be able to say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we gonna do this thing out as long as we need to do it, as many times as we need to do it. But I am also a big proponent of constant change. Like I love change. I love shifting. I love all of that. So I enter into everything. It's nothing is closed end. Nothing with me is closed in. There's always room to keep continue to change and to grow and to refine and to reimagine things as you want them to be.
Yeah, that's interesting. Wh- why would you theorize, as someone who is considers himself um, not, you said, what's the, I think the phrase you said, from your perspective, nothing is closed end, it's always open. Why would you theorize some people choose to have a different mentality, such as having a finite or a closed in mentality when it comes to their perspective?
Um, I mean, I guess just different it could be different life experiences. It could be just a part of their either emotional or you know, logistical makeup. Like some people are just more analytical, so they have to have finite answers. Like they're very factual based. So if B doesn't come after A and C doesn't come after B, then it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think it's those are just personality or just personal characteristics. Some of it is taught to people that it has to be you have to have I think we all have an end goal, but the way that we get there and the way that we travel there can be very different. Um so some people want to
Mm-hmm.
travel just a straight line, right? They're just very rigid. I just want to go from A to Z. I don't want to veer off course. This is the plan. I want to stick to the plan. Um and for some of us, it's very much so like, I don't care if I'm traveling peaks and valleys and, whatever. As long as A gets me to Z, however I get there, as long as I arrive, it doesn't matter because the joy is in the journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
Yeah.
necessarily have a theory as to why it's like that. We're just all made differently. We have different life experiences. Certain things make some of us uncomfortable. Like I would be very uncomfortable if I had to be in a situation where it had to just be one linear line, like one linear experience. I don't want to experience it like that. That's not the way my brain works, and it's not the way that I work through processes. So
Mm.
we're
That's
just different, and yeah, no one way is, good or bad. It's just we all just experience things differently and tend to do what makes us the most comfortable.
I I sense that I am also a open-ended person. I prefer to um, take life as I attract it versus seeking some sort of destination mark to define who I am. Though I will say there in my past, I did like have such a mentality, and it frustrated me because I realized, expecting things of reality is just seemed to be counterintuitive for me personally. Though maybe it's possible for other people to achieve goals that way, but for me, I try to just be open, which helps me to also enhance my self awareness or awareness of what's happening in the moment. And I do have goals and desires that I act upon, but I'm also open to the possibility that I'm in the process of um, having these initiations that some unexpected could happen, and I have to deal with that in the moment too. And hopefully that at a certain point I'll be able to navigate beyond that obstacle so that I can continue or resume um, achieving what I'm desiring. So that what you said to me is relatable, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, of
We're
course.
going to move on to we're going to move on to the conclusion section of the Journey of Growth podcast, which is called the Interpreting Expression section. So, for those who are new to the podcast, it is the section called the Expression section. I'm going to move the microphone up a little bit. Okay. This is the Interpreting Expression section. And what this is, or to describe what it is, there are quotes or questions that are ultimately expressions that individuals make, and I think that the purpose of communicating is to inspire awareness, be it in the form of a statement or a question, and hopefully the whatever is communicated can be related to whoever is receiving the expression, and which could be used as a resource to assist someone in their journey of growth. So I like to select a relatable expression every episode, and myself and the featured guest will share their interpretations of the quote, and hopefully the interpretations by both of us can be relatable and also used as a tool for an individual. Today's quote is, if you are not getting better, you're getting worse. Martini, how would you
Mhm.
interpret this quote, and how is it relatable to yourself?
So for me, I guess if you're not getting better, means you're getting worse. It speaks to how some people think that just because if you don't take action, then nothing changes. Right? So if you're not actively seeking growth, then you're just going to stay the same. But the fact of the matter is, it's much akin to if you don't use it, you lose it. So if you're not actively seeking to exercise whatever abilities that you have, you will start to regress in those said abilities, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, financially. You have to continuously apply yourself to be stimulated in order to evolve. And so if you're not evolving, then you're kind of moving backwards. There's no real sense of stagnancy.
Hmm.
Either you're moving forward or you're moving backwards.
Hmm. And how would you relate this quote to yourself?
Um, I try to so I guess I can relate to the sense of like when I was tackling like becoming a new mother and trying to balance motherhood and being my own person. I got lost in a place of stagnancy, and I noticed that while I wasn't really moving forward with anything because I was just resting in the moment, I was losing a lot. There were a lot of things that I kind of regressed on that I had to reteach myself all over again because I wasn't actively using them in application, every day. So once I figured that out, now I try to be I'm a forever student of life, of academics. Like I'm always learning. I'm always trying to find something to push the needle forward, even if it's just minuscule. I'm always seeking something to help me evolve.
I appreciate you sharing your interpretation and your how relatable it is. This quote is to you, and I want to ask for confirmation um, in terms of this statement. Do you agree with it?
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Because I just wanted to get that, just make sure I got that clarification because I've also presented this statement to others too, and I've heard various statements or various perspectives or interpretations. People didn't agree with it, and for those who are listening, or if you want to comment in the comment section on how relatable this quote or statement is to yourself, you're invited to do so and what your interpretation it is as well. Um, from my interpretation of it, I think is very similar to your own. It seems yeah, it seems like this quote is suggesting that there is the idea of neutrality is non-existent. It seems like it seems like the flow of life is directional, and the reason why I added this visual, this image of this balloons and this rabbit riding on a boat of balloons is alluding to air or wind. When I think of wind, I think of an energy that doesn't seem to be stagnant. It's either going one way or the other. It can go, wind can go to the east, the west, or north to the south, but it doesn't seem to be just staying neutral. And when I think of which, when I was quote, it piqued my curiosity when it comes to the idea of neutrality. Does neutrality exist? Um, and as I relate this quote to myself, I think about how there's times when I am uh, not working. I have an occupation, and when I finish doing my job, I come home, or even if I'm not working, I have an off day. There is an intentionality to relax. And so when I think about the idea of relaxation, I wondered, is the state of being relaxed a state of neutrality, or is it a direction? And it seems to me that the idea of neutrality is more fictional than it is based in reality, because I think when I'm relaxing, it does require an effort, because I do think it's possible for me to alternatively overwork myself and not be mindful of my mind or my physical state. Like, oh, like my back is hurting or my knees are hurting because I've been like working too much. And though I sense this, I choose not to take some time out to just sit down somewhere and read a book or write a story. Or even just like, just sit down, listen, and sit in the park and listen to the birds. And I think that in itself, I think, is an enhancement or ability of getting better, because I'm what's getting better is my enhancement of self-discipline, knowing that there should be some time that I intuitively designate to rejuvenate and recuperate from my uh, long days of working. And I think if I choose not to do that, then I am going in of getting worse. So regarding neutrality, Martini, from your perspective, does neutrality exist, and what would be your interpretation of neutrality? If
Um, I mean, essentially, no, neutrality doesn't exist. Either way, a decision is being made, right? So there's movement in one direction or other. Um, you're choosing to do something or not to do something. So there is no real sense of that. I think we give things these names to make ourselves comfortable. Oh, I'm neutral, or I'm not doing anything. No, we're always doing something. We're always doing something. Our bodies are always doing something. Our minds are always doing something. Um, to relax is it requires active intention, because even in your relaxation, you're having to remind yourself to relax. So it's not as though your body just
yeah,
completely shuts down and you're just going to relax just naturally. No, you have to remind yourself to relax. We have to take action to complete everything that we do, every step, whether we're saying, okay, I'm going to be still, you're telling yourself to be still, and then you're reminding yourself to stay in that stillness. If you're working on something, if you're at work, you're taking the necessary steps to do your job and reminding yourself that this is the goal and you need to complete this task. There is no neutrality. That it can't be, because we're always in motion, even when we're not.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Cool. I just want to add one more thing. When I think about politics, I think about I hear people saying I hear people say, "Oh, I'm right leaning," or I say I'm left leaning. Then there's a category of people who will say I am centrist, meaning I'm in the middle. And I'm thinking like that one I don't really relate to, but it is interesting that idea because when I think of centrist, I think of like situational or conditional. Like, oh, I'll lean
Yes.
this way depending on the situation, or I'll go that way depending on the circumstance too.
I mean, yeah, it's
But
those group of people are kind of like, and it's nothing wrong with it, right? To be able to say I'm self-serving. So I'm gonna go with whichever situation I feel meets my needs the best. Um, because that's all that that is, right? And but that's all that any political party is. Honestly, is like I this is what aligns with my personal views and opinions, or this is what aligns with my personal views and opinions. And then those that claim to be in the middle are simply saying, I don't agree with either of you majority of the time. So whichever way the wind blows, in sense to what I feel like is best for my personal well-being and my personal survival, then that's what I'm gonna go with.
yeah,
So
I like how you elaborate on that.
that
Yeah.
that's all. Just a little self-serving, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's survival of the fittest. So whatever you got to do to make a way.
Great. So we're gonna wrap it up. But if you can hang around for another 2 or 3 minutes after I end the broadcast, I would appreciate it. But we've reached the end of the Journey of Self Growth podcast, episode 29. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I hope that this episode will be a resource and inspires others to continue on their journey of growth. And Martini, what would your parting words be?
Um, just I guess trusting yourself, and believe that whatever believe in your vision, believe in whatever it is that you have thought of for your life, the way that you want to experience it, that is possible, and you can recreate your story as many times as you need to, um, in order for it to fit the narrative that you want to deliver.
And for those who are wanting to experience your products, what can you repeat the the avenues that they can go on to access your products in your business?
For sure. So, you guys can find Moamo on Instagram, at Moamo Candle Co. Or you can, if you want to shop the products or follow the Muses story, you can find us at www.mowamo.com. Mowamo is spelled Mawamo. We love to have you. So come on and just join the music circle. I mean, we have a good little time.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm going to and buy a candle myself.
I will say I have something for you, I'm sure.
And and do they what's the delivery process or the
Um,
payment processes for that online?
so we accept you know, we process credit cards, debit cards. Um, we have a few pay over time options on the site. So if you don't have it all, you can pay for it in four. Um, we do local delivery if you're local to the Bay Area. We can arrange local delivery or pickup. So yeah, that's typically how we get things in motion.
Okay. Well, I hope you have continued success in your business ventures and also um, on your path of journey overall. And yeah, I appreciate you. And what else? Yeah, I hope everyone will enjoy the rest of the day. If you're interested in being a guest on this podcast, you're invited to do so, which could result in an enhancement of self, including identity and awareness. You can reach out to me on on Instagram at Kite Raps. I hope everyone will enjoy the day. I appreciate you all. And until next time, goodbye.